People and gentle people, welcome to the PoetNY open mic here at the Bowery Poetry Club on October 11th, 2019. Here at Bowery Poetry Club, we do like to start every event with an honor native land statement. We want to make sure that everyone is aware that this event and all events that occur here in this overly crowded city of ours is happening on the traditional lands and waters of the Lenape people. And so we want to give respect to the Lenape past, present, and future. To that we say Anushik, which is Lenape for welcome and thank you. So Anushik. And now we commence. So what is happening right now? The bartender is on break and is going to return. We've all had jobs before. We've all I was a server for many years of my adult life, and I would go on break and then come back and be like, all my tables need all of everything, and that's what's gonna happen, okay? But we're gonna get through this together, and we're gonna have a fantastic fucking time. Okay. Did I say my name? My name is Mason Granger. I don't know. You usually want to lead with that when you're hosting? Yes. So I'm the host and the executive director and the resident bar status updater of this fair establishment. Tonight's a special night. As you notice, there are crews here. There are crews, and they're basically getting data for all of your facial recognition software entries, and so. Just relax. Let it happen, okay? So the more different facial expressions you make tonight, the better, okay? So they can get the full diaspora of your emotional view. All right. Actually, it is a show that is going to air in South Korea, and give me some woos. Come on. Okay. This is like a room full of Ric Flairs now. Cool. All right. So. So that's gonna happen, and because this is, as we know, we are in New York City, and it's been called the capital of the world, and one of the things that I've noticed from hosting this since early in the 2017s is that any given night, just okay. By example, I'll just show it. How many people here are from New York City? Okay, so now raise your hand if you think that you are from the farthest away place from here. Okay, the TV crew aside, yes. Israel. Okay. Israel, but like next door, like one door farther. Okay, so he wins. Farther than Israel? It's not farther. France. Okay, so this is Wakanda. Always the farthest. That's actually like the 14th moon of Jupiter. They don't say it in the Marvel comic universe, but that's where it's at. Pakistan for the win. All right, so yeah, and that's the thing that you see that I do think is unique about this place and about just New York City in general, that I think a lot of the times we take for granted, is the fact that there's stuff from here, like around the corner, like somebody still has like part of an everything bagel stuck in their teeth. All right, and that person is me. But so you'll get that, but then you'll also get people from like literally everywhere and like all descending here. And for tonight, we're going to descend and share ourselves through poetry. All right, that's what I assume that people are here for, or either that, or you're like on a Tinder date with a poet, and they were like, "Come, trust me, like it'll be cool," and like so then they can like seem really emotionally available through vicariously the emotional availability of everybody else. It's a good plan, and it's going to be a fantastic night, and I hope that it works out for everyone. With that said, okay, so I've been hosting and doing these things for a while, and I've found that a lot of times things can go off the rails at open mics. This is not one of those open mics, okay? This is not one of those open mics. We are structured. There are rules. I'm going to lay them out. All right, 1. Everyone who comes up, you have 3 minutes of stage to earth minutes of stage time, all right? And this is not because we want to like cycle you through, like, thanks, pat on the button, then you leave. No, it's because like there's a lot of people here from as far away as Pakistan, and we want to make sure that everybody who came and made the effort to come out here intending to share gets to share, okay? So if you have a 9-minute poem, chop it up into thirds, come back next week, the week after. It's a weekly show. We're here for you, all right? So we can do that. Also, if you have multiple poems that are all like six words long, just drop one of them. Just drop one of them. All right. You got 3 minutes. So you can like dance for a minute and a half. That's cool. But just like one poem, let it ride, let it marinate, let it breathe, and then we're gonna keep it moving. Cool. Other thing, when I call people up, the stage is here, obviously. Access to the stage is traditionally done via these steps. Now these steps, all right, you may think, steps, whatever. Nah, these steps are like, one of them is like pi inches tall, the other one is like a foot, the other one, okay, it's surprisingly complicated, all right? People trip over the steps all the time. One of them has like a 17-degree askew to the left. I don't know what it is, but people trip, so I just want to make sure that everyone is careful when they're coming up on this stage. That is one thing. Other thing, nope, that's all. That's all the things. That's all the things. So, this is how we begin. All right. So, oh wait, no, that's not it. We have a feature poet tonight. A feature poet by the name of Nia Calloway. Yep. You know, I can hear by the boisterousness of those woos that there are many informed people here who know what Nia Calloway is going to bestow upon us, all right? So that's going to be like a 20-minute set towards the midpoint of the evening. And so, yes, we have that to look forward to. In the meantime, we're going to hit this open mic, okay? The open mic. And this is how, there's already like a great vibe over here. It's a bit like the tension, the like, you know, like when you're like the edging of like not having had the bar open yet, and then now you're like ready to go. All right, so I feel that tension right now, and it's great. It's palpable. All right, and so we're gonna translate that into the show. Okay, we're gonna redirect, and this is how you do it. I'm gonna start over here. Okay, I'm gonna start over here. But before I get there, what is your name? Yeah. Lily, okay, Lily, can you be the culmination of this thing that I'm about to do? It's gonna be great, and it's gonna like not hurt. Okay, cool. Where are you from? New York City. New York City. Okay, so from like here, from hither. All right, great. So I'm gonna come back to you. So I'm gonna start over here though. Okay, I'm gonna wiggle my fingers in this general direction. When I do that, okay, I need you to make a very small amount of noise, very tiny amount of noise. Okay. Then as I sweep my hands more and more across the crowd, I need more and more noise. Okay, think of my arm as like the speedometer, and we're going. Okay, so more and more as I get across. By the time I get over here, I don't know what you're doing. You smash your Dell book over your head and just like start singing. Yeah, you just start like doing Hamlet. I don't know what it is. But you're doing it. Hamlet is the most boisterous thing I can think of right now. Okay, so that's what you're doing though. And then, okay, when we're all maximum energy, I'm going to do one of those, okay? Gonna silence the energy. It'll still be bouncing around, okay? Obviously, it's like, cannot be created nor destroyed, only change forms. It'll be bouncing around. Then I'm going to sweep all of that energy over here into, what is your name? I forgot. Damn it. Okay, Lily. I'm going to sweep it into Lily's direction. Lily, I want you to take that energy in, feel it, translate it into whatever noise you see fit, okay? And then let that noise out. And then, yeah, this is your solo. This is your solo, okay? This is you. This is like in the Phil Collins song when the drummer's like, poof, 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 poof. Okay, that's all you. And then all right, and then on the back of that, and you let it out, on the back of that, I'm going to call the first name in whatever pocket it's in. I'm going to call the first name, and then that poet's going to come up, and we're going to get this night started. Is everyone okay with this? Okay, we do consent to this journey we're about to take. All right. That was like a tiny owl. Okay, yeah. Okay. That was like a mouse at the quinceañera. Like, I don't know why that mental picture came up, but that's what I got. All right. So please, put your hands together for the first poet of the night, Catherine. Catherine to the stage.
Hi, everybody. So I've had writer's block for a few weeks, so I'm going to do kind of an older poem. Yeah. I actually did this one here like a month or so ago. People seemed to like it, so I figured I would do it again. This is called Blowing with the Wind. They asked me in the bar where I would like to go next. My response was, wherever the wind takes me. Now we are sitting on their couch, sipping stiff drinks and discussing Grey's Anatomy, until his next question to me is, can I kiss you? He kisses me, and I hear her take a deep breath in. And this is the part where I do not know whose hands are where, because when I close my eyes, men's and women's hands feel exactly the same, and isn't that funny? He asks me if he can unclasp the button on my jeans, and I say yes, and this is the part where they teach me to love bodies that do not look like mine, bodies that are soft, round, hairy, and unapologetic for being those things. I have been conditioned to love bodies that are sharp and jagged, with knife blade cheekbones and pinprick lip corners and washboard abs, and how have I not cut myself yet? Or have I already, and is that why I feel like I lost a piece of myself somewhere? Is that why I now feel like they are stitching me back together again? Her mouth breathes warmth into mine. His belly is soft against my back, and I think I am the perfect centerpiece of this jigsaw puzzle. Half girl, half boy, all sailboat blowing where the wind takes me. And the truth is, I am not very good at sailing, but it's all right because I'm a pretty strong swimmer. And I am riding the current over the slope of her back, around the inlet of his thighs, and down into a lagoon that is finally large enough to hold both parts of myself at the same time. I am half girl, half boy, all sunflower bending with the wind. Let her be the sunshine, let him be the rain, and maybe we will grow something beautiful together. Maybe we will resurrect love in a world where it seems like people have forgotten how to feel it because we are carrying so many criticisms that we do not have any way to hold each other. And so I hold her while he makes her come. And there is so much love wrapped up in this 12-limbed octopus that we have become together. I feel it in the brush of her eyelashes against my cheek. I feel it in the way she says to him, "What do you want, baby?" I feel it in the way she holds my hand after it is over. I feel it in the way he slides his hand underneath the blanket because it is not really over yet. I feel it in the way he finds me with his fingertips. And with every heave of my breath, he whispers in my ear, "Yes, yes, yes."
That was Catherine. Yes, yes, yes. So, the next poem. Can't all be gold. All right. The next poet coming to the stage. Give it up for Maria. Maria.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? Okay. This is my first time performing this in public, so just bear with me. By the age of 6, I had been to see more psychiatrists than I ever wanted to. 6, 10, 15, I've lost count. So many faces, they just disappear. My parents searched far and near for help, but all they got was, "Sorry, there's nothing for her here." Unnecessary pain and suffering dominated my life for years because the world's resources are not geared towards those they despise. Finally, an answer arose. I was given the words borderline personality disorder at the age of 18. My family's faces as we left the room were full of despair as they learned the hard truth about their oldest daughter. Bullied and shoved away by society, misunderstood by my family, closed and hurt while fenced in by emotions of sadness I can't control. Wait, I'm angry. No, I'm afraid. So many emotions I can't separate one from another. Flooded with emotions, my body feels like it's on fire. A look, a stare, a touch can cause the speed of emotion to hit me like 60 tons of sand. I can't think straight or breathe. A flood has overcome me. Tissues and tears are my closest friends, for they provide comfort after my emotional turmoil ends. You wouldn't know by looking at me that I'm screaming and crying at the top of my lungs, left unraveling, feeling undone. I hate that one look from you can cause my brain chemistry to become undone. I feel powerless, like I'm in a straitjacket. How do I explain what I don't understand? Trapped in a jail cell every day within my own head. It's heavy and painful like lead. I can't hear what you have to say to me because my head has a million thoughts inside of it. Do you like me? Do I want to live today? Can I do this anymore? Everyone thinks it's all about me, really. I don't even know myself. I long for a smile from my mom rather than a look of fright because she is so worried whether am I going to survive the night. I long to remember a fun night with friends rather than crying the whole way through waiting for it to end. I want the glass to break between you and I so we can connect. I want people to smile at me rather than run because they look at me and realize, what planet did she come from? I want to be free. An unclear smoky maze has been my life for years. I scream and fight to just survive. I don't want to wake up every day waiting to die. Gripping my pillow and wiping the streams streaming down my face, I want to create the possibility of a new time and space. Now take steps towards a new unknown path, getting to know who I really am. Everything from the inside out has started to shift. I'm waiting to live, not just exist. I smile at the reflection in the mirror instead of covering my eyes. I'm trying on the world on for size. My running has started to slow. My heart is opening. The time has come for me to heal from all the pain that I've kept buried and hidden for so long. Like a graffiti artist leaving my tag for the very first time, my life is my canvas one day at a time. I have tasted what it's like to be free and finally and happily on the scary but exhilarating journey of becoming the person I was meant to be. I'm learning to love the person I see.
All right. This is a poem I wrote, not the list. But I remember who's next. It's Lydia. Lydia to the stage.
I made the stairs. Okay. So this is different for me because usually I read things that are very traumatizing for me, and I then heal from them. So this is not a, well, I'm shit. This is like, oh, I'm shit. Does that make sense? Okay, so we'll see. There is often a great fear of magnetism in my life. Momentary fear of what could possibly attach to me, what could possibly rub off on me, what could absorb into me, stick to me. There are often too many moments of covering, of inhabiting, of assuming the role, of receiving the baggage from, of taking upon myself the form and factor of something or someone else. There has too often been moments of minuscule energy in my life, moments of a soul so small it is easily encrusted in soot and sorrow and assumption and assimilation. The dust of the earth has too many times concealed the light that resides in my marrow. Yet finally, in this life, in this clock tick moment, there is a shift in volume, a shift in quantity of energy coursing between the spaces of my atoms, a shift that perhaps makes me no longer the magnet, but the substance which clings. Perhaps I've now become that which others fear could possibly attach to them, what could possibly rub off on them, what could absorb into them, stick to them. Perhaps, Mother, you should worry about the ground rather than my knees, worry for the soil and the sin that I leave behind, rather than what smudges become these caps. Perhaps, friends, the fact that the rain soaks my clothes, causing them to cling to my skin, should not concern you, but the vibration that this sky water receives when it collides with my skin and sinks into the earth should incite you to take cover, fearful of the residue of me soaking through your shoes. Perhaps, stranger, the muddy footprints trailing across your floor should not faze you. You see, this barrier between me and your marble prevents my essence from tainting your sacred ground. The mud that causes your mop bringing should make you exhale in relief. It is only earth that you must clear away, an easy task of mop bringing to erase its presence, but you see, there is no mop bringing that can erase the presence of me. Perhaps, Earth, you should fear what my soles leave on you. See, my toes carry more than your muck and mire could ever wish to be. When I finish walking upon you, finish treading a path through your dust and dirt, it is not I who will be stained with the other's offings. Perhaps, ground, when I step onto you, into you, step through you, you should be worried about what I leave behind. My energy, my essence, my scent will be on you past implosions of stars. Perhaps, man, the buzz that you feel after you've come is not your pleasure, but the nervousness that I've instilled in you. You should not fear the remnants you leave behind after bliss has left you buoyant, but the fear should come from the elixir that I imbrue you with. As I take you in me, mold you to my matrix, I anoint you in a lacquer of me that will not fade or be painted over. The scent of me, the residue of me, the sheen of me. As I take you in, it is not you who fills me, but I who encompass you. Perhaps, woman, when my stardust brushes yours, there should not be concern of you losing your cosmic gleam, but that you've now been infected with mine. See, my shimmer invades those who tempt it, and like glitter tumbling on a vast expanse of shag, there is no ridding yourself of me. There will forever be particles that contain my fervor stuck in your aura. I am no longer the magnet. I am no longer the one who is fearful of that which clings. I am that which clings. I am big. I am so big. The trail of me that resides in my wake is not a subtraction of the vibrancy I exude. It is simply the consequence of becoming bigger. I am constantly becoming bigger, more than before, more than then, more than what I was, more than who I settled for. I am big enough for me and you and the earth and the past and each version of me still yet to come. I no longer fear magnetism, for I've become what magnets desire. I am substance and breath and enough, and the sound of my voice makes me bigger.
That was Lydia. Lydia, your line, there was a good line of something about the space between atoms, and it coincides. I just saw on Reddit today that if all of the mass, the particle of the, okay, this is hard to say. If all of the space between the atoms that make up all of humankind was removed, that mass would fit into the size of a sugar cube, okay? Which, yes, that's a lot. And so then that makes me think that, like, okay, obviously we are all mostly nothing then, okay? Mostly nothing. And so what we're doing here, just want to make sure everyone knows what we're doing here, we are filling the nothing that we are with what we want it to be full of, which is poems, Hold on, I'm gonna wait till they get the camera back and then I'm gonna say that shit again. No, I'm not gonna do that. It's just gonna go into the ether. It's gone. All right, so yeah, that's what we're doing here. That's really what an open mic is like this is open to the public just as much as a 7-Eleven down the street, you know what I mean? So like, people just come here to do shit, and so yeah, so this is what we're doing. So the next poet to do what they want to do is gonna be Eddie. Eddie to the stage.
So I had a bit of a weird year, and I've been getting heavier and heavier into photography, and photography is all about capturing light, so I thought I'd use my poetry to capture some darkness. We must recycle and solve poverty, but first, let me type steakhouse near me into my Google Maps and proceed to squander my day buried in apps. In all the longitudes and latitudes, everyone's spitting platitudes, but who's really changing their attitudes? Health and strength, traded in for fear and beer, sitting in the driver's seat of your life, but can't seem to change the gear. The promise of the future has become slanted. So many of us taking everything, our sight, our fright, our delight for granted. The same bullies who used to torment and kick weirdos' asses hold their hands over their mouths as they watch the deranged shooting up the masses. Get your automatics on sale at the gun show. Promo code GREED gets you discount, friend or foe. Surprise, surprise. Folks taking out as many as they can before blasting themselves. Definitely unrelated to the quick turnover on the pharmacist shelves. We never talk about the responsibilities of being alive. How others rely on us to thrive. Never a mention about the death of ourselves or the death of our drives. If you're team red, you're a homophobic racist and you suck. If you're team blue, then you're a snowflake and a granola eating schmuck. And if you're somewhere in the middle, you just don't give a fuck. When's the last time we had productive public discourse? Can't remember when? That's why the douche will get elected again. But just persevere and do your best, because when you're old, cheery, corny, and gray, you'll look back and chuckle, thinking back to that pivotal day when you held it, pressed up to your temple, threatening to blow it all away. So cheery on and go through this life with grit. But please, when I get off this stage, don't look me too close in the eyes, because you might see something I don't want you to see. A hypocrite.
That was Eddie. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a second for the Insta 361X to get set. In the meantime, just so everyone knows, so this is we're at Bowery Poetry Club, as hopefully you know. That'd be weird if we got this far and be like, word? I thought this was like pianos. No, so we're here, and as the name indicates, a lot of poetry-related doings happen here, and so. In addition to this event, we have this event. This is the open mic. It happens every Sunday night. Okay, that's 1/7 of every day. The rest of your life is literally this. Okay, and then on Mondays. So tomorrow there is at 6 o'clock there is a video cipher for Project X, and Project X is the poetry slam organization that's based in the Bronx. Okay, they're gonna come down here, a team of them, and they're just gonna do all of their poems, and it's gonna be great. And you can come listen to all those poems. Then. That's at 6 o'clock. Then at 8 o'clock, we're going to do this again, okay? It's another open mic, except instead of the feature poet being Nia Calloway, because that'd be weird for a back-to-back. This isn't Drake, okay? So then the next, the feature poets that night are going to be that same slam team, okay? And so we're gonna get a full dose of the Bronx coming down here, hitting the 6 train, and bestowing upon us some poems, and that's gonna happen. So. Now I'm going to call more poets to the stage, and the next poet is actually the program manager, an intern consultant, and resident comic book knowledge person, Julius Baltonato.
Okay. All right. Howdy. How's everyone doing tonight? Okay, I hope y'all excited for Nia Calloway. It's gonna be a fucked up, crazy, awesome, like orgasmic night. I hope y'all ready. I used to shoot guns. I used to be a naval reservist for the Philippines. And I never really write about that part of my life until this poem. Also, I actually have a few features coming up. If you want to come see me do more of this shit, talk to me after the show. Death wears a pale white visage for everyone they took from us. You wear the black blindfold. Your high noon sweat mixes with dermal oil and gun grease. Manila smog laced in your fatigues, you await the commandant's yell. Ready? Strip! Your hands unlatch each pin. Sweat wicked by cotton dress gloves doused in Sprite to keep your fingers from slipping. 8 pounds of aluminum alloy suddenly fling loose with precise, practiced hand movements. You set the rifle upright, unclip foresight sleeve. Separate receivers, disassemble the bolt carrier, remove the firing pin. You practice this again and again until your fingers smart red. Average 40 seconds until you take this M16 rifle apart. They usually teach you how to put this shit back together. but you're field medic, not shore patrol. So the Navy did not have you practice how to reassemble this weapon. You learn instead to set bones, wrap gaping flesh in gauze, seal wounds with hands and pressure. Your hands do not master how to realign this metal to break bodies apart, no, only how to put bodies back together. Your body knows the shake, the ease of how 10 rounds of full metal jacket shreds targets that are 50 yards away. This is the last time your hands will pull the trigger. You trade gun grip for a knife handle, because blades at least have more than one purpose. But your memory remains. The acrid gun smoke, the dull ring through the earmuffs. Every time you read a story of homegrown terrorism, your poet brain dissects the images. Someone's baby girl is propped up against a bullet-riddled wall. Grandfather's salt and pepper chest hair singed and severed. Eyes glassed in place like cadavers you studied in the morgue. Your bones shiver unbearable at the memory of trigger squeeze. You contemplate what possesses these bone-white visages of death to rip apart the earth-toned bodies your hands were too far away to reassemble. These pale riders always get to walk, unmolested by police, who fear not death if it dons a pale visage, horns trained right at them. Saves the bullets for days death comes unarmed, hooded in black. Every time you study an attack, your training reminds you how unlikely it is that you can sneak behind them. Stick your sharpened knife through foramen magnum, recall the rage of cold-blooded soldier you gave up becoming. But every nightmare after, your fists clench until your nails form new beds in your palms. You watch your chosen home deny faces that remind you of your brother, sister, mother, niece, you in the mirror. Some nights you dream your hands hold the rifle, and you strip the gun apart. Your eyes burn salt into steam. There is no scent of burnt powder today, no empty casings littering this floor, only springs, pins, and bolts. And the baby girl eats ice cream, and the grandfather hands her the cone. Their names stay unknown. They don't turn into dots or numbers on the graph. No arrests are made. Fuck the NRA, only dad jokes. Kids turn their noses at their daddies, and stupid Walmart jingles that play in the background on a Sunday. You smile, and then you awake. Latch on to the strange, ephemeral utopia your heart has assembled for you in your dreams. You turn your coping into survival. You urge to hide into adrenaline. You ready each privilege that is afforded you now that you're awake. Seek out these dissidents in Congress. Raise the rally cry banner that they left behind. Remind them of all the needless death that is stripped away from our hands. You march for lost joys to simply exist. Breathe, laugh, play, graduate, cry, grow up, grow old, exist, exist, exist. Let these small brown joys exist.
That was Julius, Iron Fist Boltonado. Damn, he's turning over leaves, my dude. All right, the next poet up to the stage. If you've gone on to the Bowery Poetry Instagram at any point in the last couple of months, and then like there was a blank spot, and then like the couple months before, anything on there that looks good is because of Eniola. So please give it up for Eniola to the stage.
So this is a poem I wrote a while back, and it's my first time performing it, so here we go. When you're a black girl stuck between Africa and African American, you don't know how to react when people tell you that you're not black enough. You know you're dark enough as you try enough to assimilate into a culture that deems you as never enough. When you're a black girl stuck between motherland and land of the free, you begin to question what it means to be me, because you don't even know if you still have a place for you in your home country, because you've drank the Western Kool-Aid without even realizing, as you try to become who others wanted you to be. When you're a black girl stuck between running free on open dirt roads in the blazing sun while singing your own anthem of freedom in your native tongue, then suddenly stuck in a classroom, sterile and clean, amongst peers who constantly subtly point out why you're not good enough for their team, you become unsure of who to be. You know you're not white, and you never wanted to be, until they started telling you that for some reason it was the best thing to be. Especially when you speak English in a way that's deemed clean on one hand but too white on the other, even though it's just a result of your Americanized conformist upbringing. And now you cannot help but question your own sanity as you say to yourself, maybe black isn't the real me. You confide in your sisters who understand a fraction of your pain because they too have had their blackness questioned. They say, tell them you're not black, tell them you are Nigerian. So you try to say that one day in a classroom in the States in front of a room full of faces, both brown and peach and all the shades in between. I am not black. Before you can state your case, you watch your white teacher's face turn accusatory and angry as she shames you for shaming yourself. How dare you say you're not black? How dare you take yourself off that shelf? Shut down and shut out before you can even come to your own defense. You sit with a heavy heart on that fence, knowing nobody, neither black, neither peach nor brown, will even try to understand your sense. You see, when you're a black girl stuck between Africa and African American, you know you're as black as the midnight sky when you would sit on the lands of Albelkuta with your grandfather by your side. You're as black as the deepest parts of the ocean, just as you are mixed with emotion and confusion of not knowing what people want you to say when they demand an explanation for why you speak in such a white way, because you have had to relive that closed-minded conversation more times than you can say. When you're a black girl stuck between constellations on warm desert nights and the tallest buildings that reach for starless skies, you get tired of being told who to be just because of the color of your skin, by those who share the shade and those who stare at it with disdain. You think back to what your sister said. You're not black, you're Nigerian. You choose to rewrite that sentence too. You are black regardless of how others try to define you. You are African black, a result of the Nigerian sun that graced your ancestors and ultimately you, with a shade so becoming of you. You will always be a black girl, both inside and out, though it is nothing but a color without a doubt. Your spirit is colorless and colorful all in one, and it is who you really are. Your skin color is not. Just look at all the non-black African daughters and sons. You are African first and foremost, and you will always carry that African blackness in your bones, even if others try to define you with their own closed-minded interpretations of what it means to have your skin so deeply and passionately kissed by the sun. Thank you.
And just keep the round of applause going. The next poet to continue this parade of bangers is going to be Johnny Perez. Give it up for Johnny Perez.
Okay, so a quick commercial before I get into the deep dark shit. Tuesday night, this coming Tuesday night, that gentleman that just went and killed it, Julius Baltonado, is going to be featuring at 11th Street Cafe right over here in the West Village. From 7 to 10, he's going to be our featured poet. And then after he performs and kills it, we're going to have jazz poetry, which is a jam session with jazz guitarists playing, and you can come up to the mic and stream and do whatever you feel. So every Tuesday night in the West Village, we're doing it, but this Tuesday is going to be very special because Julius is our featured poet. I hope you can come out. Okay, so a word of explanation on this poem. A lot of you know me, know I do a poem called Running Through Trees, which is about overcoming abuse. The piece that I do here in this forum and some other forums is too long, is shorter, and it doesn't even have the line in it. So this is the part that I cut out. So I'm actually going to do what Mason recommended, and if you have a longer poem, cut it into pieces and perform the shorter piece tonight. So this is actually the beginning of the poem. It's a little difficult, but I hope you like it. The time I try to run, you hold me down. I'm 7 or 8 years old. I get up to run to my room. I can't stop crying. Stay here, you say, your arm around me. When I resist, you use both arms. Stay here, you say, just stay. I'm hyperventilating, even though I don't know that word yet. Can't breathe, can't move. You are too strong for me to go. But in between breaths, I find there is a space inside your arms and against your side. It is like the space between bars of a cage, or like the air between branches of closely planted trees. And if I make myself small and thin and still, I just might fit. If I shallow my breath and wait and wait, I can make room for myself in here. If I shrink and slow my breathing, there is a place for me inside your arms and deep inside of me, and that is where I go and hide. You hold me. That is where I stay and calm. You pray, say you love me. This is how I learn love is this way. And everything will be okay if I just stay and shrink and learn to live without breathing deeply. That night, I dream of running through trees. Thank you.
That was Johnny Perez. We're going to keep that going for the next poet on the mic, Jude Hoffman. Jude Hoffman.
On Channel 11, the anchor behind the desk shows a picture of a young black man who was shot by police for sitting in his car suspiciously. The picture they show is a mugshot from 3 years ago. They only talk about his misdemeanor drug charge. They say, what a shame the officers felt so threatened. 2 hours later, the anchors show a picture of a young white man who raped a young white girl. They show what could have been his Olympic ID photo. They talk about his swimming record. They say, what a shame he won't be able to compete. On Channel 18, Iggy raps about what it is like to have a black ass on a white body, as if we can choose to take a piece of a person without regarding the rest of them as a person. A broken mannequin gets its parts shipped all around the country, and everyone acts like it didn't come from one place to begin with. Channel 9 will shame the mannequin for being broken. On Channel 7, people call in all night to say they agree with equal rights too, just not the violence. At least not the violence of blocking traffic, because that violence is inconvenient for them. On Channel 49, Elvis croons and sways and swings, and everybody talks about his hips. No one mentions where his voice came from. Channel 18 tells me that if we carried guns, none of this would happen. We could protect ourselves. They never mention Fernando Castile was licensed to carry. They only talk about flags. The skin is a flag, the color a killer they don't acknowledge. During a fundraiser for breast cancer, someone calls in and yells, "All diseases matter," and hangs up. Channel 7 talks about the violence blacks are causing when they scream at police to stop murdering them. As if there is ever a time to tell someone not to scream their truths. As if stealing a culture is any less violent than stealing a life. As if the violence perpetrated onto any body exists in a vacuum. As if Elvis and Iggy and Miley have not taught us that it is okay to act black as long as you are indeed not black. The first commercial is selling us telescopes to look away from our problems, or to look so closely at something we lose context of everything we are seeing. Channel 11 will not use the word rape in any of its discussions. They demand that we tell our daughters to be safe, to walk in pairs, to be careful. They demand we tell our daughters a lot of things. They demand we tell our boys.
That was Jude Hoffman. Leading into our next poet to the stage, we're going to have two more poets up to the stage in the first half of the open mic, and then we're going to kick it over to our feature poet, Nia Calloway. And so, part one of the two left in the first half is going to be Tyler Larsen. Give it up for Tyler.
I ain't doing that phone. But I just finished this one, so I think guess that makes it new. At 16, I asked my parents how to change a tire. My mother said, "Twirl your hair and smile at the gas station attendant. He'll do it for you." I remember when that is all I knew about gender. 6 months and a haircut later, my father says, "If you're gonna be a man, you need to learn how to change your own tire." I remember when that was what I thought transition meant. But now when I say transition, I mean I made every choice that built me into something that my father told his daughter to be afraid of. Chose to light myself on fire, watched the flame melt me down, and casted my body from parts I was born wanting to throw away. Because the thing about becoming is that it can't start from nothing. There isn't any version of this story where I get to be a man without once being a woman. And most days that is something I am grateful for. But there isn't enough flame to melt away the times other women would tell me to lose weight just so that I could find a husband. Not enough flame to not miss the parts of my body a lover kissed but have since been discarded. And when I say transition, I mean I've injected so much testosterone that it's killed the cells inside of the parts of my body designed to feel good. And don't I wish that I could blame the testosterone for everything else I've killed. Because when I say transition, I mean somewhere there is a graveyard with headstones for every identity I have ignored in others, just trying to feel more like a man. I mean, after all this time, I'm still unsure which parts of this masculine I wanted and which parts are just followed instruction. I mean, I poured the melted scraps of my body into a mold built by toxic men, and now I have the nerve to wonder why my male privilege always feels so damn gender affirming. When I say transition, I mean today, I got into an Uber and I did not check the license plate. But my grandmother still calls me every time the news tells her how dangerous the city is for women. Tells me to be careful, that she loves me. I mean today, when I walk down the street, I didn't look behind me. But I do avoid the men's restroom at sports bars, spend the whole time looking behind me because I know that this casted body only keeps me safe as long as no one sees the parts that it's built from. When I say transition, I mean I still get jealous of women who are more beautiful than I ever was. I mean I cried at my cousin's sweet 16, marveled at her dress and the dance she shared with her father, mourned a life I chose to melt down just to rebuild, because the thing about becoming is that it doesn't start from nothing. There isn't a version of the story where I get to be a man without stopping myself from growing up to be a woman, and most days, that's something I'm grateful for.
That was Tyler Larsen. You know what I think is cool is like, okay, and the first thing that I said in the early part of the show of how like, okay, this is a singular place. We're here, yes, in New York City, and there are New Yorkers here, but it's also like the whole rest of the world coming here as well to this like one singular point. And then so as I'm sitting out and I'm looking at like the cameras and stuff, I'm thinking like, okay, so this night, okay, today, August 11th, year of our Lord 2019 is going to air at some other point transcending like time and space. It's going to air like months in the future, okay? And so then you're taking time, space, and making it malleable, okay? So then that makes me think of the Reddit thing that we were talking about earlier of all the atoms collapsing down to the size of like a sugar cube. And then like that makes like matter seem like malleable as well. And then we started thinking like, okay, so what is even time? What is like the passage of time? Like what's the correct passage and what's just like some made up passage? And I think the only correct passage of time, the way to measure it is like the speed of cognition. Like when you teach somebody something at the exact rate that they can process what you're saying, then like that's the perfect track. And it's like when you have kids and you like teach them stuff at the like when they're ready to receive it, when you teach them that right thing, then you're like in the groove there. And the next poet on the mic is going to be Corey. Corey to the stage.
New shit! A white supremacist telling me to go back to my country and stop invading theirs is like a raindrop falling into the ocean and telling the water droplets that didn't originate from clouds to go back to the glaciers in which they came from. Not knowing that ice entered this atmosphere millennia before water formed clouds and started falling from it. Not knowing that the ocean is a product of ice melting and converging and not a body of water being invaded by glacial migration. If you're okay with people calling Latinos invaders, what the fuck is wrong with you? If they don't like one of us, they don't like none of us. I don't give a fuck what color or texture your hair is, if your skin is pale, or if you don't speak Spanish. Fuck your comparisons. Mexicans are so stigmatized, it's like all other Latinos severed ties. Do you not give a fuck if children die? No one ever hollers about the cost of concentration camps unless the lives lost are of Caucasians. And frankly, we never band together because no one remembers who we truly are. They call us Latino or Hispanic. Fuck that language. It was lashed into our brains with a whip, and it was ingrained into our names with rape. They cut off our tongues along with our ancestral ties. All Latinos are descendants of Native American tribes, so the thought that we are any different from each other, that's fake. The fact that we are natives means so much more than just a tax break. It means that we have always been on their extermination list of this country since we've laid in tents before they made a fence to cage us in, before they built a border around the land in which our ancestors lived. They wandered into our waters, they slaughtered innocents, and they pushed us out. And then when we come back to have a safe place to raise our kids, those hypocrites call us immigrants just so they can place us into a cage again. Oh, you're not Mexican? That shouldn't change a thing. They want you to feel safe because you're different. But how can you be content while there's children in bondage, wondering where their moms went? I thought people would be revolted and start revolting when they found out that some of these kids were being sexually assaulted, but the government is never next. Or are you fucking disgusted yet? Well, me too. They're not taking drug dealers off the corner because they contribute to the self-destructive culture that white men created. Instead, they're looking for mothers and fathers working at factories, the only decent jobs they can get without identification. And they're snatching up these kids while they're in school. They're snatching up their parents while these kids are in school, just trying to get a decent education. They use dog whistles to radicalize the wolves to start this Latino invader extermination. Then they say mental illness is the way that you take care of this, just to hide the fact that in America, the white man has always been the terrorist. back since Latinos were known as Incans, Mayans, Aztecs, and Arawaks. With this tongue as my bow, I am cocking these arrows back and I am aiming them at the real invaders.
That was Corey. Now it's time for our feature poet. Our feature poet is Nia Calloway. Yup. Nia Calloway is like a lot of times when like the bio, when you do like a feature poet and you like read their bio, and it's like has appeared on Conan O'Brien. Blah, blah, blah. Nope. Nia Calloway is a very intuitive person, okay? Very giving person, very talented person, obviously, as you will see. At 3 a.m., we were driving back from Boston a few nights ago. 3 o'clock in the morning, I got pulled over for speeding, okay? Speeding in a work zone. There were cones there. No, it was legit. It was legit. Got pulled over and then discovered, why was I speeding? Because we were singing Jagged Little Pill. I'm not even talking about that particular song, like the whole album, okay? The whole album, we were singing Jagged Little Pill, and it was, which song was it? I have no choice but to hear you. You stay. Head over heels, head over heels. That is a song that I used to imagine my high school crush singing to me. That shit did not happen, but I do know all the words to that album. So we were indulging in that, called a little velocity. So got pulled over. Then in the give me a license registration, they run that shit, and then they come back, and I discovered that my license was suspended since 2017. Okay. But what is the passage of time? Because that makes me no, we're not going to go down that road. Nope. But, okay, so then we fast forward, we're over here. We just crossed the Henry Hudson Bridge. This is driving back from Boston, and we're literally at the top of Manhattan. We're almost there. Couldn't drive the rest of the way. Nia had to swap out. Nia gets in the passenger seat, from the passenger seat into the driver's seat, begins piloting this minivan. This minivan has a suspension of a cloud, okay? It is a large, boxy figure. And Nia driving the last 9 miles to 34th Street to the central location to drop everybody off. And in that drive was then making conversation to make me feel better, which I recognize as also an intuitive person, and I appreciated that. And so please give it up for your feature poet tonight, Nia Calloway.
Hey, y'all. Oh, wow, this mic is hot. Thanks for the... Yeah, thank you. Oh, my God. No, that was actually such a beautifully fun trip. I had so much fun. When we got pulled over, I was kind of like, oh, shit. Like, especially with the suspended license, I was like, okay. I thought I knew you, Mason. No, but yeah, I was happy to drive back. It was no big deal. I hadn't driven in 2 years, though, so I was a little nervous. Anyway, anybody from Texas in here? Yeehaw! Nobody? That's cool. Well, I was asking that because I was going to wear my Texas Rangers jersey, and then because I wanted to like tell this story about that episode of SpongeBob where they were making fun of people from Texas and how it like fucked me up for years. But then I bought this outfit today and I was like, fuck that. This is not the forum for getting through that or processing that. But yeah, I like to talk about self-love and pleasure a lot. This year I went back to therapy, and thank you. I was drawing a lot of Tower and Death tarot cards, and I was like, fuck, somebody's out to kill me. And then I realized that it's a positive thing and that there's just a lot of shifts happening right now and that I need to embrace them. And that I need to actually acknowledge how I feel rather than trying to repress how I feel. And so this is a poem called Blue. I wrote it right after going back to therapy for the first time. I saw a therapist for the 500th time today, but today's the first time we've actually met. She said my storm clouds scream very loud and I need a better raincoat. Funny, all this time I've tried to create the best thunderstorm 4th of July for the rest of the world to see. April showers fill my cup. Damn, a full-ass cup, yet I'm still fiending for the very last drop. I dropped the ball on myself this time. Please don't keep score. I'm really not good at these kinds of sports. I'm better at deep sea diving, synchronized drowning and running cross-country away from myself. And I bet you can't have just one thunderstorm when life is a fireworks show gone awry and I'm the best goddamn 4th of July. I make so much sense these days. I certainly knew what I meant and mean what I say, said what I meant to mean and mean what I said I meant, okay? It made so much more sense yesterday. I find freedom in imbibing myself in my sorrows because I know those saloon doors will surely swing my way tomorrow. I use my poetry as Kleenex, dance as Valium, fucking as cough medicine, or as all the sunshine I will ever need for this wilting stem. But freedom exists in the palm that releases its grasp up into the loud storm clouds. A palm cleansed, washed, shines its face up into the sky, giving thanks to the sun and howling at the moon. This palm finds its way back to the fleshy mountains of my love and joy, demolishes a 7-year-old dam and grants the floodgates their final wish, to be free, to just be, here to nourish, not to drown, here to cleanse the spirit of its murk, to allow ripples to dance back into existence, allow the tiniest waves and hollowest of graves to sing and spout that death is only temporary. So, dearest self, if you must clench your own heart to make it stop beating, do it. If you must strangle your own throat to stop your soul from singing, do it. If you must squish your intestines and forget how to trust yourself, do it. If you must scrape your insides hollow with the bluntest edges of your knuckles, do it. If you must shatter your bones to the frequency of your silent screams, do it. If you must crash into yourself, do it. But your soul, like a magnet to its source, will rise back up to bask in the glory of the sunlight. And finally, if you must drown into yourself, do it. But you are not to sink to the bottom. You are not allowed to make your bed in the sand of the ocean and lay your head on skeletons of fish. The harder you cannonball into yourself, the more bubbles of air there will be trying to help you stay afloat. You must know that you cannot make a home out of a deep sea hell. Just because it won't burn you doesn't mean you cannot die in it. My love, you are darkness because you are lightness. You are light because you are dark. You are darkness and it is très magnifique. You are lightness and it is très magnifique. You are every hue in between. It is a magnificent, beautiful, magical, waking miracle. If you must break, do it with kindness and a good memory of who you once were. Crawl through the fire, but do not take a nap there. You know who you are and you know where you're going. Please, don't drink the Kool-Aid at the party your demons are throwing. Thank you. So yes, I really like to talk about mental health. And like is a weird word because whenever I talk about it, it obviously makes me uncomfortable because of how potent mental illness, like the feeling of mental illness and having to, there's a lot of shame coded around mental illness is what I'm trying to say. Specifically on the subject of eating disorders, it's really a lifelong disease even if you're physically cured or in recovery or recovered. It's your brain chemistry changes, your neurotransmitters change, the synapses in your brain changes just because of how malnourishment can affect the brain. And so I recognize that I'm not the same person I was before I was ill. but I'm thankful for just I'm thankful for how tough it's been, because I don't think I would write the way that I do or search for the truths in the way that I do, or at least try to really search for the recognition of self and love for self the way that I do. However, this is called Breakfast. I wrote it on a morning where I was struggling very much, but just give me a moment, gotta find it. Thank you. Wow, so many feathers. Okay. Breakfast. Break fast. Breaking the fast. Fasting, verb. To abstain from food is a familiar practice to me, as choosing emptiness has always made me feel superhuman because of how fullness is the padlock to the prison in which I call this excruciatingly human form. Fasting, noun, the act or practice of abstaining from or eating very little food is a familiar drug to me because when I wake in the morning to an empty body, I feel free. I feel free, untarnished, unembellished with human error, perhaps so untarnished and unweighted. I could float, fly high, forget what it's like to trip over my feet, to scrape a knee, to bleed, to hurt. I can forget what it's like to need anything. Fasting, noun, a period of such abstention or self-denial is a familiar kind of abuse to me because even as I write this poem early in the morning, my stomach grumbles, but I tell her to hush, be quiet, you're still in timeout from the night before, young lady. Breaking the fast has become both the ceremony and my day in court. I either congratulate myself with a medal of honorable restraint or I spend hours persecuting my unbearably human errors of wanting and needing in hopes that self-flagellation will bring justice. Fasting, verb, to eat very little or abstain from certain foods, especially as a religious discipline, is a familiar tradition to me because emptiness has become my dogma. Fear and guilt are my communion, and my body is the temple, fully equipped with a pristine exterior that could shatter at the slightest touch of shame, insecurity, or regret. My bones are the pews that make a comfortable seat for anxiety, who likes to sit in the front because she never sleeps, depression who sits in the back in case she wants to sleep even though she shows up every week, and a false sense of self-importance who is sprinkled amongst the congregation in audacious hat wear, shouting the occasional, "Preach, preacher!" They all tithe 10% of their destructive behavior into my psyche at least once a day, usually before breakfast and especially after dinner. I baptize my fingers in drool as a way to escape the loud moans of the ghost of fullness is past. I'll chew on my fingerprints so perhaps the groans will cease just for a moment. My body will dwindle one morsel at a time, and who I was before I reached holy emptiness will be submerged in sinful spit, and I'll never have to acknowledge her existence again. It may only seem like food to you, but to me it feels like boulders hurled down into the narrow well that is my body. It may seem like food to you, but to me it feels like unflakeable snake skin that I will never be able to shed. It may just seem like food to you, but to me it's a sin that my body will not be able to forgive until it's empty once again. However, today the clouds of shame and fear dispersed, and I could finally see my body in its full glowing hue, a hue that effortlessly reflects the day, a skin that soaks up sun rays, showing me how simple receiving love can actually be. I sprinkle the seeds of self-love into the fertile soil, the soft terrain that is my skin, to show myself that yes, I am capable of giving a love so sweet and sacred as well. So today, right before breakfast, I knelt down on one knee and kissed my legs, and rather than asking for insatiable shape-shifting, I asked them for forgiveness instead. I asked them to continue to love me better than I've loved them, for they have held me, supported me, and carried me when I did not want to carry them. They said yes. They would grow with me, hurt with me, heal with me, deal with me, for they have never lost sight of where we're going, and I will never regret a single day, step, or stumble along this beautifully imperfect path we tread. Thank you. Thank you all for being so open and receptive and creating this kind of space tonight. Everyone has just gotten up here and been so brave and honest, and it's really inspiring and endearing. So this next poem is called This next poem is called Do Not Put Me in a Vase, and it stems from just hating the patriarchy. Go figure. It highlights how a lot of the restraints we feel to just be ourselves stems from patriarchal oppression, and it also navigates how that misogyny can be internalized. Do not put me in a vase, for I am the entire garden. Do not put me in a vase, for the water in there is too shallow for swimming, yet thick enough to drown in. Do not put me in a vase, for I am the entire garden, unable to shrink myself for the sake of beauty any longer, for the sake of propriety any longer, for the sake of the disproportionate amount of yang in this world any longer. I am the entire garden, always in flux, always in flow, not only on and up, but far and wide I will grow. Do not put me in a vase that lacks the powerful nutrients, wisdom, and love I need to sustain a powerful mind. Do not put me in a vase that lacks the depth I need to grow. Keep your white grand patriarch colonial little dick out of my sweet garden, because my stems are too strong to fold and snap underneath the rusty blades of your insecurity and fear. Your definition of beauty slices our budding stems in half, so do not throw us into a cold cracked vase and tell us to call it home. We could never find home in a house so hollow where the walls wouldn't even withstand the forces of wind and gravity. There we would stand in our respective vases, separated, disconnected, no longer anchored by each other's roots that hold on to one another during the cold, dark nights, separate from each other, forced to gaze upon each other's outer forms, forced to examine the other, to study the individual cracks in our glass. But did you know that it's hard to judge someone's appearance when you're standing right beside them, just like it's hard to cross your arms when your hands are being held by your sisters? And it's easier to think about your own cracks once you're aware that they exist, just like it's easier to judge someone else when you've been practicing on yourself. It's easy to feel empty when you've been alienated from one another, easy to no longer feel linked together, but stacked on top of one another, collated, arranged, sorted, categorized, classed, fit into. When the white grand patriarch colonial assholes find a way to remove you from your true home, a body of love, and move you into a cold, hollow vase, will your emptiness cry in painful echoes, or will you have a bed of soft, cozy soil to keep you warm at night, a soil that gives to you, supports you, and takes up space? We used to be gardens, and now we are vases, separated by the violence of dead air, separated by the glares, judgments, stares, separated we stand so weak that a faint whisper could topple us over, and my dear, there is no bending in a glass vase, only breaking. There we will lay shattered compartmentalizations of the body, mind, and spirit, and for once we'll be able to see what lies underneath this shell, a beige sullenness scarred with red ink that screams for freedom, for acceptance, for a love we were never taught to grow ourselves. You will soon find that your pain, desire, beauty, imperfection, screams, laughs, cries can no longer and could never fit in a glass vase. So when you do fall, be sure to shatter, break, scream, cry, fail. Do not pretend to fit your pain, turmoil, rage, needs, or fears into a feeble "I'm okay." Shatter so that you can find the pieces of yourself that went missing. Shatter so that you can put yourself back together again on your own terms, my dear. Shatter so that the vases next to you allow themselves to shatter too. Break open, breathe for the very first time. Crawl, hop, run, skip, dive your way back to your garden. Let the old vessel rest. Let the love of the soil consume you as you find peace in letting go. Soon the flame of your spirit will emerge from the earth, and you will go back to the beginning, and you, my love, will start anew. Thank you. Thank y'all so much. I got one more poem I want to read before I do a fun song. And this is a poem that I read in Boston this week, and it was a lot of fun. It was based on the tarot card, the Star. And it's called Oh My God. Every time God has an orgasm, a star is born into the night sky. Every time God squirts, an asteroid is launched into the abyss and is caught in the praying palms of each planet's craters. Every time God has a la petite mort, a nebula explodes into the galaxy's face. God sat on the galaxy's face and had a la petite mort. From that moment bore the sweet nebula I take my deepest naps in. Is God afraid of dying with every little death that comes God's way, just like I am? Is God afraid of leaving bits and pieces and moments of God's self into the scrapbook of the universe with every dearly departed ejaculatory squirt? Is God afraid of the viral immense pleasure of expanding so vast across eons of space and time with every palpitating breath, orgasm, or little death like I am? Does God just want to feel like themselves on the other side of an orgasm the way I yearn to? Is that why God and I say, oh my God, in the same way when we come and know we're talking to each other? I used to wonder if all the little deaths I've acquired have killed me. It's hard to believe that we suffer from the little deaths of our old selves when it's the passing by of the rocket ships of who we could have been that actually kills us whole. Or maybe God is leaving in that rocket ship to leave us behind. Instead of staying so far removed from God's pleasure, God is going to go revel in it. Maybe God just wants to get it in before the world ends because the entire formation of the universe has been about getting it in and binge-watching Real Housewives of Atlanta. I think God just wants to make sure that in this life, God, the God in you, the God in me, is oh so pleased. When God comes, God moans in the shape of a meteor shower. The North Star is God's nightlight, and if God tilts God's head back far enough when God is coming, God can see the glorious underboob of said North Star. Does God like to use Orion's belt to get smacked on the ass with? I wonder if God likes doggy style as much as I do. The last time God came from doggy style, Pluto disappeared and went to go hang out with its 7 dwarf friends. I wonder if God likes to be gently choked. What is God's safe word? Mine is I love you. Maybe God's is too, because that makes everyone stop, drop, and run the hell away from each other. God wants to know what vibrator was slung across the solar system on the highest pulse and killed the Earth's dinosaurs. There seem to be some dinosaurs left in a circus tent called Congress, so it may come in handy again sometime soon. There is an inferno between God's lips, and every time an I want is shouted into the ether, a pyroclastic wave of ping-pong champion sticky sweet caramel-dipped comets soar across God's bedroom and land in God's hungry mouth, from which God will speak the holiest sacrament of I am satisfied. God just wants your love to fall right into your lap, right into my lap, right into the lap of God whose panties are already soaked. God's just a horny bitch like the rest of us who likes to pat glitter on their pussy and call it the constellations. Who gets their pussy waxed in the shape of all 12 zodiacs. God scooped nice cream out of the universe with the Big Dipper and shoved it up God's hoo-ha and came real big, which is why we're called the Milky Way. God and God's pleasure is the black hole where we end and begin. Perhaps the stars in the night sky are the sperm of our universe, and we're all swimming in God's wet black hole waiting for our rebirth. God says, just devour this pussy like Andromeda to my Milky Way in 2.7 billion years already. All God really wants is intellectual intercourse with ourselves, to speak our highest selves into existence with every I am here, whole and enough that connects the dots of the constellations into the boldest flavor of truth. God just wants us to see ourselves in each of God's orgasms that light up the sky and know that our little deaths will not break us and do not kill us whole. They only serve to make us eternal. So if you think that God has fucked you over, you are so right. God has fucked you over the moon and into the galaxy so that you may become the greatest sight to see, baby. Thank you. So before the fun song that I want to sing really quickly, I'm selling these chapbooks with a lot of the poetry that I did tonight, and it's $10. Yeah. But yes, feel free to chat with me during the break. But yes, I do a special thanks in this little flap, and I say, and finally, thank you, reader. Thank you for participating in this collective game of loving words, loving self, and loving this life. I've anointed this book with my love and pussy juice. Enjoy. I did.